Lowering your standards and overlooking red flags are a one-way ticket to wasting years of your life in a relationship with the wrong partner. Throughout this video, I'm going to explain the dangers and risks of getting into a relationship with a partner that isn't right for you. In order to explain this and dive deep into the topic, I have a case study to share with all of you, in which this particular subscriber details throughout his email his experience with being in a relationship with a woman that, quite frankly, he should have walked away from a long time ago, and it didn't end well. He's brave enough to share all of the mistakes he made so that you can all learn from his experience. You can apply this to your life and make certain that this doesn't happen to you, okay? Prevention is better than cure. With that said, let's dive right into the email. He says, firstly, I want to thank you for your help, support, and insight that your videos and book have provided. You're more than welcome. The book was a game of two halves for me, with the red flags making me realize I didn't know how to select a quality woman. That happens to many of you. And the second half of the book made me realize that I was a weak man not leading with my masculinity. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed the book. And now that you've read it, you know what to do moving forward. I'm happy for you to share my story if you feel it will be useful to others, but please change the names. It's already done. Now let's dive right into the beginning. I'm going to call him Jimmy, and I'm going to refer to his ex as Jessica. I was a single man in a good place, working on my career, training at the gym, and enjoying my life. Sounds good. I was introduced to Jessica through a mutual friend who was also the cousin of my ex's current boyfriend. I came to find out through our first encounter that Jessica's boyfriend was in prison for GBH. For those of you who do not know what that means, it stands for grievous bodily harm. Translation, he beat the crap out of someone and is in prison for assault. Jessica and I hit it off and spent the whole day getting to know each other. So already, what does this tell you about this woman? She probably isn't very good at choosing men, since her actual boyfriend at the time is in prison. Fast forward 2 months in, we'd remained in touch on a platonic basis. So, starting out as friends, we're going to see how that goes. So, I was attending my best friend's birthday weekend, in which Jessica asked me to come along to, as our mutual friend was attending. She explained that she was living at her boyfriend's dad's house after her boyfriend was sent to prison. So I guess now they're just doing long distance. And all of his friends' girlfriends didn't want anything to do with her, so she had no social life. Isn't that interesting? Nobody wanted to build a friendship with her. He said, I never got to the bottom of why that was. I'll tell you why. Jessica doesn't play well with other people. When a person is likable, they're friendly, they have interests, hobbies, it's easy for them to mesh with other people, and they will eventually find at least one or two individuals that they can form a solid friendship with. When someone is actively trying, but nobody wants anything to do with them, they probably know something about that person that you haven't found out yet. But it's definitely not a good thing. Sounds like she's the common denominator and just doesn't play well with people. If she's not even good at making friends, what makes you think she's even capable of having a healthy relationship? When we already know she has a boyfriend who's in prison. This is all stuff that you can find out, as I'm telling you, without having to go on a date, without having to waste any money, years of your life in a commitment. You can figure some of these things out earlier. Pay attention. Don't be blind to reality because you're living in lust. Again, we got on like a house on fire. Very passionate, very lustful. She explained that her boyfriend had been abusive to her, making her feel worthless. So now she's venting to you and you're a total stranger. At this point, I found out that she took cocaine, which I didn't see as a big issue, as a few of my friends had taken it from time to time without problems. People that engage in high-risk behavior, such as drug and alcohol abuse, okay, is a form of escapism. It is a coping mechanism that these individuals use to try and alleviate unresolved pain and wounds that they have. A lot of this can be traced back to serious unresolved trauma. And also, this is also paired with promiscuity in some cases. Kind of curious how that plays out. So we also know this girl's addicted to cocaine, so she's damaging her brain, poor self-control, and obviously has a plethora of issues under the surface that he is unwilling to look at because he's seeing the outer shell, her beauty. But remember, fellas, you're dating what's in here. And for you ladies watching, flip the situation if it's a guy. You're not dating his handsome face. You're dating who he is in here. That's what you have to pay attention to. Let's continue on with the email. The morning after, she got into the bed I was in. I'm assuming this was at the party. And then she tried to hit it on with me. Even though I was immensely attracted to her, I told her that it was inappropriate and to stop. Good man. That's exactly what you should have done, Jimmy. And that should have been the end of your interaction with Jessica. As I said at the beginning of the video, prevention is better than cure. And when it comes to red flags, you will always spot them at the beginning, which is what we've already seen with this Jessica. Whether you identify them in your first interaction, a couple of dates in, a few weeks, or even a few months in, people can't hide or fake who they are for long. Their true character will always reveal themselves. And you can find this out long before you get engaged, get married, move in, or have children. Okay, from all the cases I've seen, and even from my own experiences, the red flags will always be there at the beginning. There is no way around it. Because a man or a woman who is righteous and honorable, mentally and emotionally stable, they remain consistent with who they say they are from the beginning all the way through for the rest of their life. Yet they can make a few mistakes along the way, but the core of who they are, their values and their morals, the way they treat other people, that remains. And if you're blind to that, then that's on you. So obviously, he told her to stop, but obviously I'm making this video because this continues on. I then drove us and a few others back to mine so that they could get their cars and make their way home. At this point, she comes on to me again in my eyes, and she was stunning. Everything I wanted in a woman physically. Again, it's all based on lust. And in a moment of weakness, we slept together. So you were strong enough in round one, and then she's kind of like weakening your armor. And as soon as she found an entry point, she just ripped it open. And she found her way in. After this, I said to her that until she had ended it with her boyfriend in the proper way, I didn't want to pursue anything further. But she then informed me that she was single, and from that point on we got together. She hasn't healed. This is what I want you to understand. She's apparently telling you that her boyfriend's abusive, right? Okay, the guy's in prison, he beat the crap out of someone. Okay, fair enough. Now, when you look at people that are survivors of domestic violence, who have been in an abusive relationship, perhaps had a narcissistic partner or spouse, when you look at them, they will always tell you that after the pain they experienced, they were in no headspace to either date, let alone get into a relationship. They need time to heal, okay, emotionally, mentally, even physically, regain their identity, okay, pick up all the pieces and become a complete person again. And that takes a lot of time when you've had your trust annihilated by someone whom you thought loved you. Somebody like that is not going to get into a relationship right away. So even though she's telling you, oh yeah, I got rid of my boyfriend, and then you say, okay, fine, we can be together now, she hasn't healed properly. It would take her a long time. So the only type of individual that's going to leave their partner and jump into another relationship right away is someone who is mentally unwell. They simply just can't form healthy bonds. Somebody who is unfaithful, they don't value the sanctity of a relationship. Somebody who is emotionally immature or extremely lustful. And you can also throw in there, unresolved issues that, prevent them from looking for something serious. They're just using you as a coping mechanism as well. So those are the reasons in which somebody will do such a thing. I want to make that clear for all the new people watching. So just because she's with you doesn't mean she's there for the right reasons. Because you lowered your standards and you've already settled for her. You know she's a cheater. She's addicted to cocaine. Nobody wants to be friends with her. She left her partner to be with you. She was willing to sleep with you whilst you were strangers and she was in a commitment. Disqualified. The foundation is wrong. I want you all to see that. I had a working holiday visa for New Zealand, which I had to use within 2 months, and asked if she wanted to come. She agreed. Another mistake. You're not married, you're not engaged. Why are you moving in with this woman? So this is how his story began. Now let's take a look at their actual relationship. How did these red flags actually play out? Because they come to the surface eventually. Men and women who are genuine remain consistent with who they are from the beginning throughout the rest of their life. Those who hide parts of themselves, fake loyalty, fake respect, or who have unresolved issues, they can't hide that forever. It eventually comes forth into the relationship, which is what we're going to see now. They were together for 3.5 years. He said during this time, which had been amazing, full of love, building a life together and making memories, in this time a few things happened which I glossed over. Yeah, you glossed over more than enough, mate, already. This is just the cherry on top now. Within 6 months of being together, she was saying that she wanted to start trying for a baby, which I said is something we should do after a few years together. Exactly. I mean, this woman is taking cocaine and yet she wants to be a mother. So she cheats on her boyfriend to be with him and she's apparently prepared to be a mother when she's taken zero preparation for wifehood or motherhood. And as he said, it's something you should do after a few years. Exactly. Not in 6 months. It became apparent that she didn't have a father in her life, as he walked out shortly after she was born. And her relationship with her mother was fractured. Although they spoke often, she would only see her once a year, and she would treat her mother disrespectfully, not wanting to listen to her when she would call her out on her negativity and drama. Because Jessica was such a problematic person, again, this goes back to her upbringing. She didn't like being told that she was wrong, that what she was doing was bad. And even as an adult, she's still in this defensive stance against her own mother. So there's no father in the picture. There's no mention here of a stepfather. So whether there was a stepdad who came in and out of her life or not, she was mainly raised by her mother, meaning her actual father, the head of the home, is gone. There's no protection, there's no provision, there's no leadership. Therefore, she's not guided. She's not taught right from wrong. Okay? She doesn't witness love in the home between a mother and a father because it wasn't there. And clearly she hasn't healed or recovered from that at all. Given the fact she doesn't value loyalty, she doesn't respect her mother, and she has no problem with cheating. Right? There's no father in the home. Mummy issues and daddy issues. She's disrespectful to everyone. Jessica told me that her uncle had tried to abuse her in her teens and that she also had a history of self-harm. Self-harm is related to mental issues, which can also be a side effect of serious trauma. It does happen as well. They tend to be linked and overlap. Again, she has all these issues, but she's telling you she wants a baby in 6 months. Sounds good to me. Not. Jessica always seemed to have drama going on, whether it was run-ins with people at work or her on and off bouts with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. So she's got problems with the digestive tract. Interesting, a lot of people who are in fight or flight state, when their body freezes up, they tend to have a lot of problems with their digestive tract. Interesting how that works. Because their body's out of whack, hormones are imbalanced. And she had these IBS bouts which seemed to coincide with days we were meant to visit my family when I had plans which I would subsequently cancel so that I could look after her. Sounds like she's manipulating you. So whenever you guys have plans with your family or there's things you're meant to do in a group setting with other people, she basically pulls the old fake strategy, right? Oh, I'm too sick to go out, my stomach's bad, behaves in an overdramatic manner. You try and calm her down, you cancel on your mates, and then she isolates you. That's actually a little bit narcissistic. You see, narcissists, to keep the victim engaged in the cycle of trauma, well, when they trauma bond you, they have to isolate you from other people so that you bond with them, you become dependent on them alone for your feelings of love, intimacy, for attention, for companionship. And then they slowly strip away your friends and your family and your hobbies so that you're just basically a slave to them until they get bored of you and discard you. So it could be that she has some narcissistic tendencies. Interesting. I had to raise her spirits and be somewhat of an agony aunt on nearly a daily basis. So you're basically taking care of her as if she's a child. But I didn't mind doing this as it was my perception that we were a partnership and that's what we would do. And I was emotionally strong and capable of filling a cup. You can only fill a cup so long, so long that your cup is being filled as well. It must be mutual. Because if you give, and there's no return, you're emptied and drained. And you lose yourself as a man. A relationship must be reciprocal, bilateral. Okay, you give, she gives as well. It became quite apparent that when she did take cocaine, which wasn't regular, but when she did, she couldn't stop until she had been up all night and she'd finished it all. This came to a head about 2 years ago into the relationship when we had a massive argument because I told her to stop, as I had worked the next day and I needed my rest and she should respect that. He also says here, I don't use cocaine, by the way. Yeah, thank goodness, man, that would have been a mess if you did. And this resulted in her saying that she wouldn't use it again and begged me to forgive her, which I did, as I always saw the best in her. Well, you're 2 years in and she's still doing cocaine. Look, some people, when they really love their partner and they've got issues, they will try and change. You give them a reason to do that because they love you so much and they want to keep you in their life. They don't want to let you down. So they actually give up those bad habits. Can be a very good motivating factor. But clearly you weren't enough, or else she would have gotten rid of it a long time ago. Anybody who does that knows it's bad. And this is another sign that fundamentally at the core level, you're incompatible just by your lifestyle alone. She's up late at night doing cocaine and you're having to tell her, can you cut this out? I have work tomorrow. And once you freak out and have an argument, then she finally apologizes and says she won't do it again. This is what happens when you're incompatible. Eventually the differences in your lifestyle will cause you both to butt heads. You can't relate to one another and understand one another when you have serious differences like this. Because your day-to-day is going to be different. But when you have things in common in your lifestyle, your outlook on life, your religious political views, when you see eye to eye in all these things, it's easier to bond because you're both coming from the same place. Like attracts like. So already it's a repellent to you because she's doing cocaine, it's upsetting you. And this is what's happening. It's causing arguments because you're not compatible. And, obviously, Jimmy, you went and forgive her because, as you said here, you always saw the best in her. And that's great. So you're looking at the best in her, but you're ignoring the bad in her. And again, we all make mistakes in life. Now, in relationships, it should really only be limited to a few misunderstandings, little miscommunications. You're both slowly learning how to understand one another. That's okay. But remember, from the very beginning, she tried to sleep with you. You said no, she still pushed, you violated your boundary. She left the boyfriend to be with you. She's doing cocaine, nobody wants her in her life, she doesn't get along with mum and dad. That's the bad in her. That kind of outweighs anything good. Just because you're passionate because she's really pretty and she can be nice a few times, that shouldn't take away from the fact that this woman is not capable of having a healthy relationship. Do you want this woman as the mother of your children? I think not. The beginning of the end. This is when it really gets interesting. We decided to start trying for a baby in January of 2020. Big mistake. Everything seemed to go wrong for me in March 2020 when I had a crisis of confidence. I noticed at work I was not being assertive in my decision making. I needed confirmation from my boss on basic elements which I would usually be fine with. I'm not sure what sparked this, but I was feeling drained emotionally. Well, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that the reason why you're feeling drained is because Jessica keeps taking from you and isn't really giving from a place of genuine love because she's incapable. I didn't really get any support from Jessica. There you go. As no matter my problems, she would always have a bigger drama going on herself. Remember, if she's your woman, she's meant to be your wife one day. She should be nurturing, caring, submissive, supportive, look up and admire you, respect you, be your helpmate, your biggest cheerleader, have your back. See, if you don't get husband and wife right first, forget having children. That comes after. And right now, you're boyfriend, girlfriend, and look at how she is. She's not supporting you at all. I would cut that woman off right there and then where she stands. But again, you should have walked away a long time ago from the very beginning. And this is the price you pay for involving yourself and staying with a woman who you knew from the get-go had all of these problems. During the pandemic and lockdown, which seemed to enhance this, being cut off from friends and family, working from home, and not going to the gym, I fell into a depressive state. Yeah, you stop taking care of yourself, things become a little bit difficult. It's normal for your confidence to drop a bit. Not to mention your woman's not even supporting you, and that's who you have around 24/7, makes things worse. I've always smoked weed from time to time, but I got into a pattern of smoking it every day, which I used as an escape from my over-analytical mind. I was eating poor food and not training, which coupled with poor mental state, my sex drive, nosedived. We had not managed to conceive by May, so I committed to stop smoking and managed that for 2 months. Fair enough. That's actually good that you quit smoking. When people are addicted to that nicotine, it can get you. My father, he used to smoke. And when I was born, my mother was like, you ain't smoking anymore. Not in this house. So what happened? He quit. And for the last, I remember growing up, I think for about 15 to about 18 years, I saw my dad have chew nicotine guns every day. He quit. He quit a few years back though. Good on him, but it took him a long time. It's very addictive. So obviously I don't smoke. I've seen the damage it does to people, but just using that as an example, I can see and I can understand why it's so addictive. So good on you for actually getting rid of it for 2 months. So I managed to stop smoking for 2 months, at which point Jessica bought weed. She didn't often smoke, but was in pain from an operation to investigate issues she was having with her menstrual cycle and thought it would ease the pain. This started the cycle of me smoking every day again, which I take responsibility for. Good. Through this time, I was always supportive and loving in the relationship when she was struggling with work. And during the lockdown, I spent the summer teaching Jessica maths and assisting her with her qualifications in order to get a promotion, which would mean better maternity benefits and prospects for her moving forward. You're a very caring guy. And obviously, talking to him directly now, we had a coaching call. You're a smart man. And you just put yourself in a position to where you invested and gave your heart to the wrong woman. She never really appreciated you, truly. And you deserve so much better. So that's why you have to keep your standards high. You never settle. Look at everything he's doing for her, despite the fact that she's giving nothing back. It's transactional almost in a way. In August, Jessica said to me that I didn't passionately kiss her anymore, that her sex life was poor, and asked me if I didn't find her attractive anymore. I explained that I wasn't in a great place mentally, and because I wasn't in good shape and I didn't feel good about myself. Understandable. But obviously she didn't see it that way. Again, because she has her own problems and she's self-centered in a way, she's looking at your lack of interest in those things as an insult to her. Because she's always raised to have it her way, do whatever she wants. There's no discipline, there's no accountability for her. You said no when you first met her, she kept pushing. And now you're not giving her, you're not satisfying her needs, so she thinks it's to do with her. Because she's incapable of looking past that and looking at you and thinking, okay, my boyfriend's struggling with X, Y, and Z. I really love him. Let me support him and try and push through. I understand why he's dealing with this. She's incapable of seeing that because she's messed up. She's a cocaine addict. She's an addict. Addicts do what they want to meet their own needs. You're just an object in the way. And the moment you stop supplying the hit, she's going to go elsewhere to get it. Remember, her boyfriend was in prison. I'll cheat on him. Instead of just dumping him, even when she was still with him, she was throwing herself on you. This was laid out from the beginning. It was all there. So even though you explained that you weren't in a great place mentally, she should have understood that. But because she's selfish, she couldn't. But I was determined to get myself and us back on track. At this point, she dyed her hair bright pink, which was really random. Yeah, that's... You know, you look at the frogs in the Amazon forest, or you look at animals that are poisonous, they have bright colours to warn other predators to stay away because they're toxic, right? So, kind of like you look at these crazy liberals, that's what they do. They just colour their hair in wacky colours. So almost like an attention-seeking thing as well. From that point on, I got my act together, I stopped smoking, started training, I made a conscious effort to make sure we had weekly dates to spend quality time together out of the house doing fun things. Good, you're romancing her. I also made an effort to meet her needs in the bedroom and get the spark back. I asked her if she felt that things had improved through all my effort, but she said no. Well, if you have to ask, the answer is no. Because women help you when they like you. If you're doing everything right, your woman will be very vocal. She will tell you, oh, I'm really happy. I'm so grateful you did this, this, and this. She's appreciative. She's respectful. And there's a constant flow. The more she's doing it is just in reciprocation to the fact that you are following through and doing those things that a man does. So if she's not saying that, because you're not doing it. There was still no baby by the end of October, so we started to take steps jointly with the doctors. My results came back as low sperm count, which was self-inflicted, I know, because of my poor, you're not taking care of your health, it's not going to help. From this point on, I noticed she was secretive with her phone. I should have confronted her, but didn't want to show distrust. It's a respect thing. You're in a commitment and you're suddenly changing your behavior and you can sense something's off. You have a right to ask. Especially, you brought her into your house where you moved to New Zealand. You have every right. Especially after everything you've done for her. The next week, our relationship deteriorated further, and it had come to a head one day where we were starting to redecorate the living room, and Jessica told me that the fun had gone out of the relationship and burst into tears. She wouldn't look me in the eyes and said she wanted to kill herself. That's not what a healthy woman says. And given the fact you mentioned she had previous history with self-harm, that's dangerous. And you never want to take it lightly when someone says that. Even if it's an attention-seeking thing, it's never a joking matter. This obviously shook me up to hear this from the person you love. Absolutely. From the discussion, she advised that she wanted to go and stay with her girl mates and to meet some of her old male friends. Yeah, we know where this is heading, fellas. The monkey branching is coming in. It's coming home. So, meet some old guy friends during the time we had booked off of work, because I'd booked us to go to New York for 5 nights to celebrate her 30th birthday, which was then cancelled due to COVID. So you do all this effort, you book a 5-night hotel to New York, you're getting your health back on track, you're trying to reignite the spark in your relationship, but it's dead because it takes 2 to tango. You're doing everything and she's doing nothing. Remember, you've convinced yourself throughout this entire relationship that you could build a genuine lifelong commitment that would lead to marriage and family with a woman who has childhood trauma. She's unfaithful. She's addicted to substances. She doesn't play well with other people. She's unsupportive. And now, when you fell into tough times, that's when you really get to see who she is. Is she with you or against you? Because a real woman, man, she will support you no matter what because she loves you. This woman doesn't love you because the moment you stop meeting her needs and she saw things didn't change, even when you tried to make an effort, because she's so centered on herself, what does she do? Packs her bags, she's pulling away from you, she's doing exactly what she did to her ex. When he went off to prison, she found a replacement. Now that you're not meeting the needs, or whatever she thinks she can take from you or get from you, she's going to look for it elsewhere. She did this before. She did it to him, she'll do it to you, and then she'll end up doing it to the next guy. That's the pattern that will follow because she hasn't healed from it. This woman hasn't gone to therapy, and this woman hasn't picked up a Bible, so there's going to be no change in her character. There's no sign of her making an effort at all, or any appreciation for the changes you were making. You were doing all the work. And then she's like, all the fun's gone out the relationship. But guess what? Instead of me trying to stay here with you and really see what we can figure out, she's just going to go book a trip with her girlfriends and reconnect with old male friends. And remember, you both started out as just something platonic. There's no such thing as platonic, mate. Now we get into the breakup. This is where it really kicks off. I was obviously not pleased with her going for a break to meet the guy friends, but I gave her the space and off she went. I made it my mission to complete the decorating to make it nice for us when she returned, as our mental state was terrible and it would give us a lift and make it nice for Christmas. So during day and night, I grafted. 2 days later, I get a phone call to say that she loved me but wasn't in love with me anymore and that it was over. She would return and get her stuff. That's the classic one, isn't it? I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Well, it's true, isn't it? That's what they say. I was in denial and thought if I could complete the surprise revamp, it would make a difference, and it didn't. Prior to her return, she'd informed me that she had been admitted to hospital and she'd cut her arms and had to be sedated. I didn't have Instagram at this point, but my friend advised me she'd posted selfies at the gym with her friends. Maybe she's lying about what she's doing. When she returned, I was still in denial, thinking I could get her to stay. And it was the week before Christmas. Man, what a lovely present to receive, hey? And as far as she was telling me, she had nowhere to go and still had to be local for work, so I said she could stay until she got herself sorted. And at the end of the day, relationships fail, and I was a contributing factor and had always insisted that my house was our home. And I didn't want to see her struggle, so she agreed to stay. She did have a minor cut on the back of her hand. Well, she said her arms were cut up. Was she lying about that? Sounds like it to me. She was exaggerating. But as you mentioned, Jessica had a streak of over-exaggerating, being dramatic. She went to work for the week and seemed fine, asking me what was up, as I couldn't sleep, eat or function and was signed off work. Those symptoms that you are experiencing is called heartbreak. This is what happens to a normal man or woman when their partner dumps them, especially if they love them, right? Unless it's a mutual breakup. It might hurt, but it won't be that bad. Now, think back to the very beginning. Remember when she was telling you how abusive her boyfriend was? And she was jumping all over you like a bunny, wasn't she? Because she never had a bond with that guy to begin with. She was incapable of forming a healthy bond. She's walking away from you like it's nothing. You're on the receiving end. You're going through a breakup and you're in no headspace to meet anyone. You're confused, you're hurt. You're trying to make sense of everything going on. You're grieving. This is what people go through during a breakup. So when she told you, my boyfriend was abusive to me, then what you're experiencing, she should have been experiencing that times 10. Times 100 even. Because she's lying to you. That's what I want you to see for everybody watching. You go back, you study the patterns in the behavior. It all adds up. It's all linked. Everything's connected. So, yeah, it's natural for you to feel this way. That weekend, she advised that she was going back up to her friend's house again. And that Friday night, I found her old phone. She bought a new one while she was away. So I turned it on and saw messages from 2 different guys. One from her work, now saying, is it official? Can I kiss you? And then lots of messages from another guy saying he was in love with her. And there were interactions tracing all the way back to October. And this is the same woman that wanted to have a baby with you in 6 months. Man, you are lucky you didn't marry or have kids with this demon. I'm telling you that right now. Count your blessings right there. But again, you paid the price because you overlooked the red flags. You lowered your standards and you settled. You were leading with your lust. You thought she was beautiful, and that's great. But her beauty is not going to be raising your children. Her cocaine addiction, her cheating, her selfishness, her drama, that's who would be raising your children. But guess what? She ain't your problem anymore. No skin off your neck, off your nose, off your chin. however it is that that saying goes. So you can move on. So I had confirmation that I had been cheated on, and there was only one thing left to do. I messaged her and told her that she had to get her stuff and get out. I didn't tell her what I found because I'm not sure what this would do. Partly I think I was still in denial, and partly I didn't want to hear any more from her BS because I wanted to see what more lies she would tell, thinking I was in the dark. Smart move. She turned up a few days later with this new guy, went to pick up her stuff, claiming that they were friends. Oh, man, so she's lying right to your face. He's just a friend. And you saw the text messages, right? That was a very tough day. Yeah, man, you enacted some serious self-control right there and then. Because some guys would have lost it, and yeah, I can probably see now why her ex was in prison for assault. Maybe she pushed him to be in a situation like that. So I knew she wanted it all to kick off so she could paint me in a bad light. So I was composed, controlled, and wished them well. Good man. Because through all of this, you've been consistent with who you are. You've always been the same loving, generous man that you are. That didn't change. Even when she didn't treat you well, even when she wasn't loving you, you still remained true to the core, to your heart. That's another point I want to make throughout this video. And it's in contrast to Jessica's behavior, who did the opposite. It is what it is. She then proceeds, so then she gives this new guy my mobile number, as she'd left a few things at my place. Oh, so she did that like kind of on purpose to like say, yeah, here's the number just to see if you'd like fight with him or anything like that. Wow. Man, I feel bad for whoever marries this woman. He's going to be in for a wild ride. She then proceeds, and then I was getting abusive, threatening phone calls from him, which was just what I needed, not. She also told our mutual friends that the reason she left was because I cheated, and told her mum that I was abusive to her. And this is the same woman that loved you, right? She wanted to have a family with you. So not only did she cheat on you, but then she has the audacity to tell a lie to everybody around you that you were the one who was doing that to her. Yep, you're lucky you got rid of her. Count your blessings on that one. You got 2 lives down, but 1 life left. Now we get to the end. Where do I start? I was absolutely broken, and I've endured the toughest experience in my life. Recovering from this, but recover I did eventually. Another lockdown was announced a few days later, which was the last thing I needed. And I got to a point where I considered my own life. Well, I'm glad you're still with us today. From that point on, I used the pain to punish and motivate myself to be better. Good, because through pain you grow. I did my normal job in the day and worked through the night renovating my kitchen. I ran 38 miles and raised £5,000 for a mental health charity with a colleague from work. That's honourable. Well done. I went to therapy to deal with my mental state and my addiction issues. I committed to get in the best shape of my life, which I've almost achieved, which I was in good shape back in my 20s, so it's been a tough task. I've committed to reading a book every month, which I've stuck to about 20 books now. I've achieved a promotion at work and am now retraining so I can start my own business and have more flexibility should I achieve becoming a father at some stage. I have grown and learned so much as I'm thankful for the experience. Had I found your content sooner, I may have saved myself from going through so much pain. Guys, learn from that. In regards to my ex, I found out in November of 2021 that my ex gave birth, meaning she was 6 weeks pregnant after walking out the door. Her new boyfriend now has 3 children from 3 different mothers. Sounds like a, father of the year. Well, he's going to repeat the same pattern. He's going to use her as he's used as other women. And she's going to follow the same pattern as her mother and remain a single mother eventually, because that's not going to work out. And whether he doesn't stay true to her, or she's the one who leaves like she did to you. She cheated on you, she cheated on the ex. She's going to do it too to the next guy. And he also mentions here, which is quite interesting, that at the time of meeting Jessica, he was 32, she was 26. And the guy she monkey branched to was a guy she knew in her late teens, who now is also in his 30s, and is a part of her best friend group. And he was the only male friend who would never come to visit them or make an effort during their relationship to get to know him. Why? Because he was always in the sidelines. Remember, they had a bond back from the teens. He left an emotional imprint. You couldn't compete. She lowered her standards to be with you and every guy since then. And then she ends up going back to him because you're not the first. If you're not the first, you're the last. And he had that bond. And unless you heal and repent and turn from it, that person will always have an angle. It's interesting how that works. But again, this is something that could have been prevented if Jimmy had paid attention to the early warning signs, which we covered throughout the video, and he would have not had to go through that. But she revealed the contents of her heart in the end. She was mean, she was horrible, she was selfish, a liar, and a cheater. And she ends up with a guy who is just the same way. So in the end, she gets what she deserves. But for you, Jimmy, moving forward, there's hope. And you can find a much better woman, especially with what you know now. And for those of you watching, please learn from this. You don't want to go through what he did, because it is painful. Okay? Life's hard enough as it is. Don't cause yourself unnecessary drama. So with that said, I hope you all have a wonderful day. God bless all of you and your families. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts down below in the comment section. And with that said, I'll see you all in the next one.